Sure, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. I'd like to welcome all the board members back. Today is August the 15th, 2011. I hope everyone's enjoyed their vacation and the brief respite you've had from board activities, although I know that some of the committees have been meeting. We're going to mix up the agenda this evening with everyone's permission. And the first part of the agenda is normally the clerk's report, but I'm going to ask for an executive session to discuss a staff matter. Personnel matter. Is there anyone who wants to second that?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ruth. Is there any discussion that's needed on this matter? Okay, all in favor of going into executive session to discuss a personnel matter, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Great. So at 7:07, we're going to go into executive session. I'll ask that the board members retire to the conference room there for a brief session.
And just for the record, will Mr. Stanley be joining you, and who else with you?
Just Mr. Staley will be joining the board.
All right, thank you.
I dissolved the executive session at 7:18, and we're back in regular session. And I'm going to turn the floor over to Superintendent Staley.
Okay, thank you. So, personnel matter was that my recommendation to the board to endorse Steve Perrin as the permanent principal for BUHS. A little background about the process. It was at the end of June, I met with the BUHS department heads, and we talked about the fact that with Jim Day's retirement and Steve Perrin's appointment as interim, the options in terms of an interim principal for the year or something that would be more of a short-term interim with an appointment. So at that meeting I met with the department heads, the program coordinators. We talked about the fact that Steve had done an excellent job at the end of the year in May and June. We also acknowledged his work during the end of the year activities. Recently, Steve had directed the searches for the new assistant principals and the dean of students, so essentially he was developing the administrative team for BUHS. I talked to the department heads about the fact that I was directly involved with those searches and had been impressed with Steve's thoroughness in his work during that process. The department heads talked about his years of teaching and his excellent experience as an administrator, and the fact that he is in the process of getting the school ready for the opening of the school year. In a subsequent meeting with department heads, this is actually after we had a board meeting to talk about the options, the department heads again spoke very much in favor of Steve as the permanent principal, and highlighted the fact that the New England accreditation self-study process was happening, and that this sort of continuity in leadership would be important during that process. So at that time, I did talk to the department heads about getting input from the staff, and it was felt like it would be important that I directly reach out to the staff for that input. So I sent an email outlining essentially what I'm talking about here, and asked for feedback from the staff. And at that time I also asked for community partners that have worked with Steve to give some feedback. The feedback was very supportive, and as I said, the department heads, there are coordinators, I believe there are 14 people that supported this, along with probably another 20 plus people that responded in a very favorable manner. And so that brings us to tonight. As I said, I did elicit input from the community people. We got a very nice, strong recommendation from Janet Dickinson, the Austin school principal. There's been a really good, close working relationship with Austin and BUHS, and she feels like that type of support will continue. Cindy Holden from Vermont Adult Learning. Steve has been the point person with that agency in terms of high school students or students completing their high school diploma. in a variety of programs, and she certainly supports Steve's work and hopes that as a principal, he will still be able to be involved, or at least one of the assistants being involved with Steve's leadership in that process. A number of other people commented as well. So I think it was pretty thorough in terms of the type of input that we've been receiving. And I'm very pleased to put forward my recommendation that Steve Perrin becomes the permanent principal at UHS.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Is there a motion from the board? Ruth?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to endorse Mr. Staley's appointment of Mr. Perrin as principal of Brattleboro Union High School number 6.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Ricky. Any discussion?
I forgot to mention too that the other administrators weighed in as well. And you know, Steve had worked with Ingrid and David again in the spring, and prior to that, obviously. But again, there was a lot happening in the spring, and I think the fact that Ingrid and Dave feel strongly about this helped as well.
Good.
And I asked and was pleased that the process, because I've been through processes of appointing principals in the past, that it really, the coverage and the input that was received really paralleled that sort of process of reaching out to community and administrators and staff and that sort of thing. So I think it was a good process and a good result.
Are we ready to vote? Then all in favor of the endorsement of Steve Perrin as principal, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Motion is unanimous. Congratulations, Steve. We didn't know whether you wanted the podium for a minute. To say anything?
No, I guess I just want to thank the board for their support, not only in years past, but going ahead. And I appreciate the faith that you've placed in me and that Dr. Staley's placed in me. And I'm looking forward to working with Dave and Ingrid, and most especially with our students, to continue to provide the great education that we have.
Great. And we're looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right. We're ready to move into the regular agenda this evening.
Yeah.
So Jonathan, you can remove your equipment there. The clerk's report. Has everyone received the minutes of July the 11th as amended?
Yes.
Good. Then is there a motion to approve the minutes of July the 11th of 2011?
So moved.
Moved by Ricky, seconded by Sean. Any questions, comments, corrections, amendments? Ms. Barton.
I apologize for it, but I guess I should have sent them to everybody, and I just sent them to David.
Right.
And somehow nobody knew that they...
Right. The procedure, so the board is aware of what the procedure is. Jen prepares the minutes. Ruth and I get a copy. We might exchange comments with Jane. We make amendments. I think Ron sees it as well. And then once the final comments are made, Barb releases them to the whole board. And if there are then comments from the whole board or anyone from the board who made a mistake or something, then we make that correction and then we get that final copy so that that's published. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work on making sure that the motions are correct and the people that have made them and the statements that are contained therein. So do you have a question on the July 11th? Or no?
I don't have any question.
Okay.
I was apologizing for not... Jane wasn't there, so
That's right.
you're not so great secretary did the secretary work.
Right. That was during our work session at the Putney Inn, during our retreat. So, okay. All in favor of approving the minutes of July 11th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Was there? Good. It's unanimous. Communications under the clerk's report. I've actually received no communications. It's been quiet. Anyone else have any communications they wish to share with the board this evening? Recognitions of groups and individuals. There's no one from the public here this evening. Consent agenda. I don't believe we need to go into consent agenda because I don't believe that there's anything that needs to occur under consent agenda because the committees still have the delegated authority during this time until the end of the summer. So is there anything that any of the committee heads have under consent agenda this evening that needs to be addressed that way? That's outside of the normal authority. Good. So finance will report first on what they've decided, and then each committee can then report on what they've done. Okay?
Okay, Finance met on July 13th, and our principal business was to approve warrants numbers 1004 through 1007 in the amount of $152,517.76. There were no payrolls to approve at that meeting. We, at that point, did not quite have final year-end numbers. Jim Kane indicated that they were and will be, and I assume now are solid and good, and we came out a little bit to the plus side, which is a good thing. And that's primarily it. Our next meeting will be this Wednesday, August 17th at 7:45 in the central office conference room.
That's AM, not PM.
Yes,
Okay. And all are welcome to attend at that hour, so long as you bring coffee and donuts. Okay. So let's see who's next here. Teacher Curriculum Committee, TCC.
We've met over the summer, mostly solidifying appointments. The last one was we support approving the hiring of the Dean of Students position.
Yep.
So we've moved forward with those things, and I'm working out with the chair of the Planning and Policy Committee when our next meeting is going to be in early September to get us back onto a regular schedule for the school year.
Right. I understand, David. Coughlin? Are you going to handle your You have a change.
Yes,
So we'll handle that under your.
I would believe that.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. BAMS Committee.
Similar. We were working on finalizing positions and did that over the course of the summer, and we'll get back into a regular schedule when the school year starts.
Great.
Looking forward to that.
Thank you. Planning and Policy.
Has not met since last meeting.
But look at all these policies you've got.
See, we did our job. We done.
We did them all, right?
We're in good shape.
You're in good shape.
I could just remind people just to make sure that we know when the meetings are going to be held and that we want properly, like the BAMS committee.
Yep.
Or
Oh, in other words, committee meetings,
Yep.
right? Because they're our quorum of the board.
Yep.
Yep. Great. Career Center Committee.
Well, I guess we may be met illegally, but we all happen to be on the selection committee for the automotive position. I just thought of that today, that we're all there at the meeting, and worked with Dave to, again, solidify his position that became open in automotive. And I don't know if we warned it, but we were there as wearing different hats, actually.
They appointed James Vallier of Keene, New Hampshire, as their automotive instructor, and just met with him today. And he's just returned from a 10-day boot camp that is put on by the Southern Regional Education Board in partnership with the Department of Education here in Vermont. And it's specifically designed to get teachers out of industry up to speed into the educational world. So I took a lot of pleasure in having the new automotive instructor call me up and says, "Gosh, I got to get a curriculum map going." And it was just good to hear. So he'll be fine.
All right. Interesting observation. There are no administrative reports on tonight's agenda.
I noticed that, and I've got a report, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I hope you can fit me in.
Excuse, do we need a report on the SU Finance Committee?
No.
You don't,
Not at
okay.
this meeting.
Not this meeting, okay.
Are we
I
going
mean,
to be
just what we
allowed to
met.
make reports?
I'm not sure.
That's why I've been trying to sneak money out.
Good job, David.
Sneak it in there? No, I'm only kidding. Of course you can. Well, so there's no, consent agenda is on the agenda, but there is no consent agenda, so we can really just move into administrative reports right now, right?
Yes.
Makes sense. So why don't we start from my far right, which is Mr. Coughlin.
Fine. I've just talked about Mr. Valier coming in, and again, we're very pleased with him. And then the other, you do have a staff resignation. Would you like to do that under new business or introduce it now?
We can handle it now.
Okay.
I mean, it makes sense.
Mark Nevin of our horticulture program resigned, and the bottom line would come down to there. He received a position a lot closer to home, and based on his family situation and whatnot, it's a good thing for him to be closer to home and have less travel time to help take care of his family. So we're very supportive of that. I have talked to the union. We do have a letter in process that.
Right, no past practice.
Yeah. So I would ask the school board to approve the resignation of Mark Niven, formerly horticulture teacher.
Does someone wish to make that motion, please? Ruth?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the resignation of Mark Nevin as the horticulture teacher with regret.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Yes, yes, you want to make a friendly amendment?
I would make a friendly amendment that it's understood that it not establish precedent, past practice. Yeah.
Okay.
We received a letter from the association essentially saying that, stating that.
Good. Is that acceptable to you, Ruth?
It certainly is.
Very friendly.
Any questions or comments regarding the amendment or the motion? Okay, there being none, all in favor of the voting on the amendment, friendly amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed to that? Any abstentions? Now to the amendment, to the accept the resignation, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? Both the motions are unanimous.
Could I get the spelling of his last name?
Nevin.
Okay. And the new automotive?
Vallliere.
Okay, thanks.
Spelling quiz today. I put the word out to the local agricultural community, which you know in this area is quite large, and we've received a large number of very qualified applicants in here. We're processing those now. We put it into the local newspapers, also this opening over the weekend with a closing for Friday because, you know, oddly enough, Mr. Staley wants us to start school here pretty soon. So we anticipate, especially from looking at the early entries into this opening, that we will have a qualified candidate by probably next Monday. And I'll be in touch with you folks as we do this.
Okay. Ingrid?
Okay, I know the board was apprised of a July resignation at BAMS in the area of special ed, and the BAMS committee has approved the hiring of James Brannigan to fill that vacancy. James is a BAMS BUHS graduate, class of 2002. He graduated from UVM cum laude with a degree in English and a minor in special ed. He is certified in special education, and he has worked in special ed for the past 3 years in various capacities, including being a teacher in an autism program, but also an assistant in other programs. So we were delighted that James happened to be available when the vacancy occurred, and Mary McLaughlin, Jerry Curry, and I interviewed him and felt very good about bringing him on board. So the BAMS committee was apprised of that and did support his candidacy. The other summer hire was for a health position, and that was the position vacated by Jerry Curry, who, as you know, is our new interim assistant principal. Again, the BAMS committee approved the hiring of Erin Wells. She is a recent graduate with a master's degree from the State University of New York at Cortland, an MS in teaching with health education as her area of focus. She's been working with children for the past 9 years in various capacities, never as a full-time classroom teacher, either as an assistant or after-school programming. She had an undergraduate degree in psychology, thinking she wanted to become a school counselor, and then discovered she really wanted to be a teacher, a classroom teacher. So she moved today. Her parents brought her and helped her move into her living quarters and her classroom, and it was delightful meeting them as well. And she's, first teaching job, but very bright, and we're really delighted to have her join us. And Nancy Goodhue will be a very good colleague and mentor for her in this role. We have one position still to fill, that's safety officer, and we're working on that. We've been working on that, it seems, for quite a while, but we think we're getting closer, and I'll let the board know about that. Before the meeting started, we were talking about the new BAM sign that's going in. Tomorrow, the pole is being set into the concrete, and I know Robert Clark was pretty impressed by the size of this pole when it arrived today on a flat. I didn't see it. Steve saw it. As it was.
You'll know where BAMS is.
They won't be doing that during the thunderstorm, will they?
Well, I did ask him, rain or shine. He said yes. So Robert's taking care of it the right way. He's going to make sure that whatever it needs, it's going to have. He said by tomorrow night we're going to have lights working. We'll see, because it's solar. And tomorrow we're not going to have any sun.
So
and wind.
Will you contact the reformer afterwards so they can get a picture
Yeah.
of the paper?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
We won't have the banners in tomorrow. They're fabric banners. But we're working on that. So, but that's really great. It'll be nice to have kids and parents come back to school with a real sign out there. We've had 6.
I do have one question on
Go
that.
ahead.
I was thinking about it. Is it going to be climbing proof?
It will be hard to shimmy up this pole. For
What's
most
that?
people, David,
Should big around?
it would be hard.
I got it.
Yeah. But Robert is already thinking about ways of bracing it appropriately. He started percolating over all of that today.
Okay. Just a thought.
Total confidence in his ability to manage this project.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we might want to have a little, school dedication, to this new sign, and have the kids out there, and I can invite the board and get a big picture. It would be
Sure.
great.
As the class comes in, school starts. That'd be great.
That probably
Just give
won't
us-
happen.
if you
We
can
won't
give
have
us-
our fabric next week, I don't think.
Well, I was going to say, if you do it when school starts, just give us a week's notice of what date you want to do it.
Okay.
And if you can do it early in the morning when school starts.
Sounds great.
Give
Okay.
as many board members as possible.
All right. We've had 6 weeks of summer programming. This is the end of 6th week right now. We had 4 weeks of a more traditional summer school, but for all kinds of kids. Kids who wanted enrichment and kids who needed the additional academic support. And we're finishing up 2 weeks of switch camp. It's been great. We've had just about 75 kids enrolled in the.
Can you explain what switch?
Yeah. It's the name we gave to this 2 weeks of summer camp programming that is offered under the aegis of the BEAMS program. It's not an acronym for anything, although it can be thought of that way, switching from one school year to the next, or a transition. It's a name that we gave it maybe 4 years ago, and it has just stuck. It's a full-day program which involves academic, as half of each day, theme-based academics, and the other half is adventure-based programming, more camp-like, but they get out into the community. One day they pick blueberries, and then this week they're cooking with the blueberries, for example. Our gardens out front are supporting the meals that Suzanne Grenoble is cooking every day. She is a gourmet cook, as I've discovered. Amazing food. Amazing what she's making. Today it was chicken curry, and the kids have just loved the food. It's very good quality food. So it's a combination, of an academic focus and a social, recreational focus for kids, and they've loved it. They've loved being here. The 4 weeks of summer school was 4 hours. We fed the kids breakfast, snack, and lunch in the time that they were with us, in the 4 hours. They really did appreciate that a lot. And the focus was on literacy and math, traditional literacy and math skills. We had 9 teachers involved in that program. I think we have 8 involved with Switch Camp. So we've had a lot of staff members involved. And then Jerry Curry and Sarah Wayner and Christy Thurall took about 20 kids to a summer leadership retreat last week that Ron was very involved in as well. 20 different kids. So there have been a lot of kids served this summer with summer programming. It's been wonderful. It's a very different place when the kids are around in the summer. Yeah. I really want to compliment Jerry Curry, our new interim assistant principal, for her work this summer. It's been fantastic, and it's delightful having her on board. And our new administrative assistant, Jen Lizai, it's spelled Lisai, has been fantastic as well. She's just jumped in and is figuring things out, getting a lot of help from Kathy Rollo as she needs it. But it's been delightful working with both of them. And I also wanted to confirm BAM's committee meets the first Monday of each month at 7:30. Is that going to remain?
Yes, okay.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. I guess that's it. Thanks for allowing us to have a report. Oh, Ruth has one.
Is that going to include Labor Day?
Ms.
Maybe
Martin?
that
No,
Monday?
no,
So
it
will
wouldn't.
it be the second Monday
I think
that
the
week?
second.
Ingrid.
Yes.
I am delighted to hear that the Switch program has nothing to do with either hickory or willow sticks.
Ruth, are you referring to a certain era in time?
Were those the
None of
best
us would
products
No,
for
none of us would know
switches?
about.
That's what I understand.
about that when I first heard it.
Bamboo was a close third.
Bamboo, yes, especially on these portraits.
Erin Wells, is that E-R-I-N and
Yes.
then just Wells? And
Yes.
it was a healthcare position or
Health teacher.
health teacher? Okay,
Health
thank you.
/ family consumer science. And then Brannigan, did you need a spelling on?
B-R-A-N-A-G-A-N?
Very good. Yes.
And
Thanks.
you're all set?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Principal, parent?
Thank you. We've had, in terms of staff, we've had 3 additions this year. As Ricky alluded to, we hired Kate Margaitis as our Dean of Students. She comes to us from Keene with experience at Monadnock Regional High School and Monadnock Middle School. I had the chance to work with all 4 administrators from BUHS were together last week, and it was kind of nice to begin that process of putting our team together and really talking and sharing ideas. And I think Kate, Andy, and Chris Day are going to be great additions. I think they're going to do a fine job. In social studies, we also hired Megan Shearer. She comes to us from upstate New York. She's been a teacher for 6 years, and she's taking the position vacated by Rachel Wood. And lastly, we did hire a safety officer. Gordy Baldwin has joined us as safety officer after a long search. Jesse Hall, the head of security, and I interviewed along with Chris Day. One of the things that really struck us about Gordy was his ability to work with students one-on-one. And he showed us during his time that he's able to de-escalate students pretty effectively. Student schedules are getting mailed tomorrow, so they should hit home by the end of this week. And counselors are beginning work on this Thursday, and they will be ready to help students with schedule changes next week as well. And football started today, this morning, at 8 o'clock. And they looked a little wet when they came in after their first practice, but they did double sessions today.
They're only they're supposed to start all at the same time, right? They have to coordinate. They can't practice during the summer. They have to.
So they can
Per the
practice
rules
in the
and-
summer without the coach. It's
Without
kind
the
of
coach, right.
informal practices, weight room and stuff like that.
Right.
And as part of that, our new trainer, Josh Underwood, who we hired in July as well, also joined the team today. And he'll be working with all of our athletes. And he is also a BRHS alumni, so it's good to have him come back. So, thanks.
Superintendent Staley.
Yeah, I just have a couple of brief things. I have
Oh, sorry, Ms. Barton wishes the floor for a moment.
I guess this is addressed to Mr. Perrin. Would you please pass on to your custodial staff the fact that I think the building looks fabulous,
Yeah, it does.
ready for school.
Thank you. I'm sure they hear that. And thank you. We are, David Minger and I are having a thank you lunch for the custodial staff next Tuesday to kind of thank them for all their hard work over this summer.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
School does look very good. Okay. Ron?
Yeah, I'll be brief. I have an Act 250 impact application for 2 residents in Guilford, and since this impacts UHS number 6, we need to review it with you. So the first is a artist residence home. The impact would possibly be 4 students if the house is sold as a single-family residence, and the other development is the Algiers Village Housing Project. You might have read about that substantial grant to clean up some of the area, and the fact that this would allow for a housing development of 2 buildings, total of 17 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. The impact is projected at probably 5 school-age children. So I would ask the board to allow me to file the application that there is no negative impact to the UHS number 6.
So someone needs to make a motion to authorize Ron to sign the Act 250 impact applications, and I'll make them individually because I have it right. You want to do it, Sean?
Well, I'd like to make the motion since I'm from Guilford,
Right.
just to authorize the superintendent to go along with what is required, and if you could fill it in on the.
Right, but I'd like to do them separately, and
Okay.
you'll see the reason why in a minute.
Okay.
So you want to do the artist residence first, Captain Lovell Bullock House on Ashworth Road.
Okay,
So you'll move to authorize Ron to do that
As read.
yes, yes.
as read. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
If I can just ask
Discussion?
a question, if Ron or Sean know, is the Windsor Housing Trust involved in both of them, or just the second one? Okay,
Right, well,
because
that's
I'll
why
have to
that's
recuse
what
myself
I'm
on
gonna-
that.
Right, same
Right,
here. I
okay.
have to do something
And
similar.
just a point of information, the Guilford Town School Board supported both of these.
Okay, any further discussion? Then on the first motion for the artist residence, Captain Lovell Bullock House, all in favor of authorizing Ron to sign the Act 250 permit, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the second one then would be the Algiers Village Housing Project. So Sean's going to move.
Yeah, thank you very much, David. So I will move it as read by.
Second.
Okay, moved in second. Discussion?
Is that Ricky?
Ricky. Ruth?
It sounds to me as though between these two, is a potential of 9 additional students. At what level do we say it will impact?
It's a good question. When we've thought about inquiries from Wyndham Southwest, with Twin Valley or Whitingham, considering 100 students or 200 students, there would be no negative impact by that type of number. So we're,
Okay.
you know,
It
we're
sounds
well
like-
within the range of.
It sounds like it would have to be considerable
Yeah.
too.
We're built to accommodate.
In some ways, it's a positive impact.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right, the student count goes up, we get more aid, et cetera, et cetera. And our fixed costs become a smaller portion of our overall budget. Yep, okay, so are we ready to vote?
Mhm.
All in favor then of the motion for Algiers Village Housing Project Act 250 permit to authorize Ron to sign, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Are there any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
I'll abstain as well, and you need to state a reason for abstaining.
My wife is executive director of the Windsor Housing Trust, which is one of the parties in that
Right,
project.
and
Is it of what?
of the, I'll give, may I give this? Sure. Yes, so I'll give you this.
Oh, okay.
And I will abstain because they're a client. So, the Village of Algiers.
Oh, the village, okay.
All right.
And the only other thing is just to let the board know that we have posted the new bus routes, considering the new start times. We wanted to get that information out as early as possible. So the end of, the last, August 5th is when it went on our website, WSESU website. And the Reformer ran a couple of articles highlighting the information. There's been a couple of box ads to alert parents to get to the website and they can look at the individual bus routes for all of the sending towns as well as BUHS and Brattleboro town.
Chair does not have a report this evening, other than to request from the administrators if they would, for the public's information, give the dates for when school's going to start and transition periods, so that it's on BCTV. So I don't know if you want to start, David, if there's any difference or.
There's no difference. No difference. I can speak to the teachers coming in. The
Right.
teachers come in August 25th
Okay.
for the beginning of the in-service. We'll have our all-district meeting on August 29th.
Mhm.
The elementary students, along with 7th and 9th graders, start on Tuesday the 30th. The 7th graders and 9th graders have kind of an orientation day to BAMS and to the high school. And the elementary students are starting on the 30th. And then all the rest of the students, the upper class students at the high school and grade 8 students, will start on Wednesday the 31st.
Okay. So, new board members, it's been a tradition that on opening school day, we man the entranceways to the high school and the middle school. If your child is in one of those two schools, and the career center if possible. So we split up and we greet the incoming students. And, yes, Ruth?
You're gonna do
No,
this on
no more coffee for you. Ashley.
Tuesday or Wednesday?
It's Wednesday, the 31st.
Okay, all right.
And so, what we do is I'll help coordinate, so if you're interested in doing it, send me an email message. I will make sure that each of the school locations has a member of the board there to welcome the incoming students. And you get to see clothing styles and trends firsthand.
And embarrass your student.
And embarrass your student, absolutely, that's part of the process.
If there's someone that does have a particular desire to do the Tuesday, last year I did, because I had a 9th grader starting, I went the day before, and that was interesting and fulfilling as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So if anyone's interested in that, just let me know as well. And of course, for whatever reason, you obviously can just go. Yes, Ruth?
Is that going to conflict with the finance committee meeting?
Is there a finance committee meeting on the 31st?
There would
Yeah,
ordinarily be one.
we'll rearrange that one, that meeting.
Just checking.
Thanks for reminding.
Well, school starts later, finance could be completed before, then we go up there.
Oh, this is true.
When does school start again? 8:30?
8:45.
8:45. Wow.
Yep, so we can hold finance. We'll keep finance as okay.
It'll take me a while to get used to this later.
Mary?
On the bus routes, is there a way to put something on both the high school?
Just talked about it.
We were
And
just
the
saying
websites?
that we're gonna get our webmaster to create a link with the SU site,
Okay,
pick up what's there.
okay, great, because we're gonna do that in Vernon also.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to turn the floor over to Ian to talk about policy. Policies, plural.
Well, we have a total of 10 policies we're looking at, 5 for adoption, 5 for additional reading. We've gone over them all at least once before, twice before in the case of the one for adoption. Do we need to?
Yes, so we do them individually.
That's what I was
So
just
if you
going to
just make a motion for C8, and then we'll whip through them, hopefully.
So I would like to move that the board adopt policy C8, board relations to the school personnel as written.
Is there a second? Sean?
Well,
Did you want a second?
no, go ahead and.
So let's get a second, and then you can discuss it.
I'll second.
Mary Ann seconding. Discussion? Sean?
Well, I was just wondering about that policy. I was reading it over again tonight, and I was looking back on the old C8, which is a little different. It's called Board Relations with Staff.
Mm-hmm.
And I presume that is being superseded by this new one.
Is it also C8?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it says that boards should not have any dealings with any of the staff in the school. And I'm just wondering, if from a practical standpoint, if somebody got a call from a teacher, would that be outside of this policy requirement? In other words, I think it would be too bad in some ways, even though I'm sure it's a Vermont School Board Association policy, but it would be too bad if the staff feels that they couldn't approach a board member, individually. And I don't know whether that's, you know what I mean?
You can comment, Ron, but I mean, basically, my understanding is that the teachers need to go through the organizational chart.
What if you see a teacher on the street, though?
Oh, well, I think that's a different.
Well, but then if the teacher raises an issue about, an upcoming policy, for
Uh-huh.
instance, can it be discussed, or does a board member say?
The protocol is that they should be going through their normal channels first.
Quite typically,
Yeah.
you're going to have that discussion, but the VSBA Code of Ethics, which boards adopt and this board has, is essentially saying you can't offer to do anything for that person, whether it's a member of the public or the staff, because in your role, you're just an individual person and you're not serving on the board at that time.
But you could make a recommendation, let's say, if policy were to come before the planning policy, for instance, then you could notify that individual when that board,
As part of your work as a board member, yes.
Mm-hmm. The reason I ask is I just don't want to feel like, I think a certain amount of relationship with the staff is perfectly appropriate. And, if it's something you just have to turn and walk away, then I think that would be odd.
No.
But that's almost a way to agree.
Well, that's really not the intent here.
And I think that if I can say, I think that we amended that by sticking in the role as members. So I mean, I've often had people come up and ask me things, and it would be really rude to say, "Oh, I can't talk about that."
Right.
But to say, I usually say something like, I can't talk to you as a board member. I don't have any authority. I can't do it. And usually I will just listen, and then, but not really express.
Yeah.
Many sort of, this is the way I feel on it. I don't, I'm not sure that's there. But to listen and to acknowledge and to say, these are valid points, and these should be brought up, in a board setting or through Ron, the principal, the teacher, whatever the procedure is.
Well, I thought that was the case, but I thought it would be good to verbalize it just so. Yeah.
So I think that's why in their role as members, I think was put in there, I think, for that reason.
Okay, any other questions on policy CA? Then all in favor of adopting policy C8 as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's unanimous. Ian?
I move that the board adopt policy F16, headlights, as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Ricky. Any discussion on F16 headlights?
Just a reminder that the.
Ms. Barton.
Are we for them or against them?
We deal with them.
Depends on which side of the healthcare debate you are.
I was just going to say that this policy had been reviewed with the school nurses and health professionals.
Okay. Any further questions on F16? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion's unanimous. Yeah.
I move that the board adopt policy G4, selection of library materials, as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, give it to Marianne.
Okay.
Any discussion? Selection of library materials. All in favor then of adopting the policy, selection of library materials, G4, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. Ian?
I move that the board adopt policy G5, selection of instructional materials, as written.
Second. Seconded by Ricky. Any discussion or questions regarding G5? There being none, all in favor of approving G5, selection of instructional materials, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Ian?
I move that the board adopt policy G6, complaints about instructional materials, as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded by Ruth. Or I should say seconded by Ruth, excuse me, moved by Ian. Any questions or comments, discussion regarding complaints about instructional materials? We made some changes to that one, if I remember right, didn't we?
We did not make changes to it. We made a note for administration that some of the forms mentioned in
That's
there
right,
were
yeah.
not
Right. That's
readily
what-
available.
Something happened on that one. Okay. Are we ready to vote on that one? All in favor of complaints about instructional materials, policy G6, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's unanimous. I think that's it for motions so far.
That's
So,
it for one for adoption.
yep. So, is this the second reading on the additional policies?
This is.
If you would, just for the public, since they may not have the agenda, if you just review and read what the policies are that will be adopted at our next meeting if there are no additional comments.
All right, up for additional reading are policy D7, volunteers and work-study students, E5, emergency closings, G3, field trips, G15, Title I comparability policy, and H5, visits by parents, community members, or media, interviewing, filming, videotaping, or recording.
Okay. Anyone have any questions on any of those policies for the additional reading? All right, I'm going to ask all the board members, please make sure that you read these and read them thoroughly, and if there are comments, that you make those comments to both Ian and to me, so we can determine whether or not we want to put it for adoption next meeting or move it off the particular policy to a further meeting, depending on the degree of recommended change. Do we all agree on that?
Yes.
Great.
This, we did discuss this at the SU meeting, I believe, right? And so there were some comments made at that meeting.
Okay.
And specifically about the volunteers and work-study students and how it related to, so I read that one over again.
So there have been changes to that policy?
No, there actually weren't any changes, I don't believe, but there was one of the things that the policy is asking that there is a background check on all volunteers throughout the whole district. And so there was some discussion as it related specifically to the Four Winds program, and that in the elementary schools. So it doesn't really have anything to do with this school, but then there was a sentence that said volunteers would not be with students for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
In other words, you could do specific short things, but this also isn't really germane to the field.
Well, it could be. I think the key is extended unsupervised contact with students. If that were to happen, then those individuals would have to
A background check. So it's,
But if it's not that type of unsupervised contact, then it's okay.
And I think you also mentioned that if there were 2 volunteers, then that would be considered supervised because you have two volunteers with students.
okay.
Because I think it is, the policy is a little bit tighter than it was.
All right. So if there are no changes now from WSESU on this, it is tighter, so the policy we have is consistent with SU policy.
Is my understanding.
That is,
Okay.
that's correct.
So then we can look at it to finalize it at our next meeting.
Yeah, I would just wanted to clarify, so unless objections, we'll have it warned for adoption.
Yes, right, that's
Ian
right.
will communicate that.
Right. All right. Is there anything else for the agenda this evening? Are there any other matters that need to come before the board? Ruth?
I move we adjourn.
Before we take that motion, let's confirm our next meeting. That's all right with
The
everyone?
regularly scheduled meeting would be on Labor Day.
20, yep.
So I would ask if you could move it to the 6th. Would that create a conflict for anybody?
6th.
Tuesday, September
Tuesday.
6th.
It's fine with me. How about everybody else?
Works for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I might be a little bit, but I think I can.
All right, so officially, the next board meeting is scheduled for September the 6th at 7 p.m.
David,
Yes.
may I ask then if the BAMS committee would like to meet that morning?
Makes sense?
Actually, that's problematic for me now.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my first day.
Oh, okay, all right. I'll communicate with the BAMS committee via email about an agreeable time,
Okay.
and I'll
Thank you.
include Barb.
So not necessarily the 12th?
That's just moving it a week later than typical. Would that work for folks on Monday, September 12th?
That's fine for
For
me.
BAMS, it's
I
fine.
think so.
Next BAMS,
Ian,
okay.
does that work for you?
I'm sorry,
Next BAM's committee meeting, September 12th at
I'm
7.
not on BAMS committee.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
sorry.
not a, yeah,
Never
it's
mind.
Mary Ann and Russ and Ricky.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
so
7:30 on the 12th.
September 12th, 7:30, and that will be in the minutes for Barb.
Okay. All right. Ruth, you want to make your motion?
I move we adjourn.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 8:10 p.m.